Please rise for the posting of the colors.
Good morning. Good morning. On behalf of the administration, staff, and students of the Southeast Baptist School Corporation, we'd like to welcome you to the 2022 Veterans Day program. This time I ask that you please remain standing for the national anthem to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. The MC of this morning's program, the former voice of the Mustangs, and most importantly today, a veteran. Please welcome Mr. Tide.
Good morning, Mustangs and guests. It's great to be here today. This is always one of my favorite times of year for this Veterans Day ceremony. We're going to go ahead and get right into our 4th grade Flag Education Awards. The Flag Education is celebrating 26 years of Flag Education and Etiquette Scholarship Program that started in 1996 by the American Legion of Indiana. The Flag Education test is given to participating elementary schools during the month of October, allowing the awards to coincide with Veterans Day ceremonies like this one. The test is open to all 4th grade elementary students of public, private, and parochial schools. Each participating in the Flag Education Test Program takes the same test, answers, and the test are scored against the standard answer sheet. On October 3rd, 2022, it was an honor for our Charles Force American Legion Post 288 to attend in person for the first time since the pandemic, the Flag Education Kickoff for our fourth grade class, delivering the Our Country Flag comic books, which is used as their study guide for this code book test. The test consisted of 20 questions, which varied from multiple choice to true and false, and a short essay. On Friday, October 7th, Mr. Jerry Goings and our commander, Bob Ritchie, who is our Flag Education chairman, with members of the Metersburg American Legion Post 218 president, each teacher read the questions slowly and clearly to their classes. Upon completion, the student then wrote a short essay on what the flag meant to them in their own words. This, as you all know, is a strenuous task. Fourth graders reading the booklet, taking the test, writing the essay. These kids, as you students once were up to the task. And everyone sitting in here today, we can say, has been through that program, they've been through our fourth grade class. The American Legion Department of Indiana, in the course of our very own Charles Force American Legion Post 288, perceived this program as a learning tool for these young men and women. When they see the stars and stripes flying high, our flag at half mast, they'll hopefully remember their fourth grade class. Each student is so deserving of an award. They work hard, but only 2 will be recognized here this morning based upon their perfect test score and their self-written essay. These 2 students will be presented with a $50 cash and an opportunity to win $1,000 at state level, which is based solely on their essay. And we're proud to say that we actually have 2 state winners that are still in the school today. Before we proceed with their awards of Charles Force American Legion Post 288, a veteran everywhere, we'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you to the kids in our surrounding communities for the love and support for our fourth graders. And I know that our commander gave each one of them a coffee bracelets when they were out there at schools. Come on up, Commander. Finally, we'd like to recognize wonderful fourth grade teachers as well as the elementary administration for whom, without their support, none of this would be possible. So at this time, we'll go ahead and bring Ms. Kelly Morgan, the principal. But we'd also like to recognize our fourth grade teachers, Janelle Ashwell, Marilyn Bailey, Abigail Hoagland, Kobe Pierce, and instructional aides, Kate Crouch. If you all can stand, please. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Kelly, and she's going to read our winning essays. So it's my pleasure to introduce the Southeast Fountain Elementary Principal, Ms. Kelly Morgan.
It is my pleasure this morning to introduce our 2022 fourth grade Flag Education Program Essay Contest winners. I do ask that if your name is called, you please join me here at the podium as I read your winning essay. Our first winner this morning is Emily Johnson. Emily writes, "When I see the flag, I think of safety and freedom and people who have died and fought for us. I also think of how hard people work for us. I'm going to tell you what the flag means to me. The first thing I think of is my safety and freedom. It reminds me of the freedom we won against the Britain rule. We can feel safe because of the men and women who are out there sacrificing their lives for us. They left many things behind for our country. It also reminds me of the people who died protecting us. People want to protect us even though there are bad people in our country. We must respect our veterans, active soldiers, and the flag. We will not make fun of the flag, active soldiers, and veterans. These veterans work so hard for our country. They work hard to protect us. Only the veterans and active soldiers know how much blood, sweat, and tears go into protecting us. They train 24/7 learning how to protect us. Brave men and women stood for our country. This is what the flag means to me. It means everything to me. Next time you look at the flag, what do you see? Someone or someone special." my family. When I look at the flag, the first thing I think of is freedom. In the United States, we have many freedoms others don't. The flag represents the United States and all of the Americans who live here. The next thing I think about when I see our country's flag is the military. So many soldiers have fought to protect our country, and many have died while doing so. They left their family and friends to do so, and they were proud to be an American. Thank you to the soldiers from the Army, Air Forces, Marines, Navy, Coast Guard, and the National Guard for all that you do for us. Another thing I think of when I see the flag is our country's song, the national anthem. They play it at our games and at any big event. On the 4th of July, I watched fireworks and listened to the national anthem, and it was awesome. The national anthem was wrote by Francis Scott Key. The last thing I think of when I see the flag is my great-grandma Sandy. She volunteers her time taking care of veterans at the VA in Danville. She's in the auxiliary at the Legion. She's always helping others and loves our flag. She wears a flag on her shirt because she's proud to be an American. In closing, our beautiful flag represents each American and our beautiful country. The beautiful fabric made up of the 13 stripes represents the 13 colonies, and the 50 stars represent all 50 states. I'm so proud to be an American and love the red, white, and blue.
Typically, we kick Kelly out at this time, but before we kick her out of her, we truly appreciate the support that our staff gives us here at both the elementary and the high school. This is actually a certificate of appreciation to the Southeast Taunton Elementary School, and appreciation and recognition of your active participation in 2022-2023 fourth grade flag education program, presented by the Charles Force American Legion Post 288, the 7th day of November 2022. At this time, our fourth grade has a special number for us. At this time, it's actually a pleasure for me to introduce the veterans that are here today. And we're going to do this by having you stand when I announce the era for which you serve. If we have any World War II veterans in attendance, if you're able to stand at this time, please stand. Korean War. Vietnam veterans. and we're paying them all. You remain standing for the Cold War era, 1947 to 1991. Please stand. Desert Storm or Desert Shield? In our war on terror, which includes our war in Afghanistan and Iraq war. That's always one of the special times for me is to see the fellow veterans and the acknowledgement that we get here at the school. So once again, thank you all. At this time, we're going to bring up our commissioner, Mr. Bob Ritchie, who is going to do a special reading for us at this time.
Thank you, Connie. Good morning, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Bob Ritchie. I am the elected 2022-23 commander of Charles Force Post 288 in Petersburg. Believe me, I work with a great group of veterans. You can see right here. They come out this morning to help with the program, and I appreciate every one of them. I must tell you a little secret, a little something about me. I'm scared to death of snakes and spiders. And to be a public speaker today at this group, I've had enough sleepless nights, so I'm going to get no speaker, but I'm going to do my very best this morning. I'm not so much worried about speaking this morning because I see a lot of my friends, a lot of my veterans, and I know that this fourth grade class, they know me pretty well by now. They'll have my back today if I make a mistake. I was asked to do a special reading, or better yet, I asked, it was okay. As we reside now in Hillsborough, it's the home of 600 happy people in old story. My wife says I dabble in the middle. I'm usually pretty happy. Once in a while, I know the story, I admit it. But I have a ritual, a ritual that I do at night in my home. On my nightstand when I go to bed, I have 3 parcels to read that's on my bedstand. First one is my Bible. I open my Bible most every night. And I get my strength and I get my wisdom from that Bible. And it never leaves my nightstand. My second parcel is my fishing and hunting guide. My wife says after 50-some years, why do you need it? Fishing, hunting? Well, there's a loose 7-pound bass out there somewhere. And that certain spinner or that certain method of twister comes available, I'm going to get it. So that's why I do it. And the third parcel that I read most every night is my American Legion magazine. It's right here. I get one monthly. It has news of Legion posts all over the United United States. It has their goals and ways for community participation in the American Legion. Some of our greatest accomplishments is, I don't know how many have seen our tank downtown Petersburg. Well, we worked hard on that. One man said he was 10 years getting that there, but the help of town Petersburg. That's community involvement. That's part of the American Legion. We had fireworks this summer, sponsored by the American Legion. Bob Dodson will probably tell you it's probably been 40 years since we had fireworks at the Hub Park, the American Legion. Flag education. I was part of this for my second year, and I've never witnessed a group of 80-some students asking questions about the flag, about the American Legion, about our service. I think Kelly had to shut them off the day that we were here. Awesome. I was taken aback by their enthusiasm. You're all winners over there on that fourth grade class. All winners. This magazine, it has a lot of pages in it that I read faithfully. It tells about the effects and the treatment of our brothers and our sisters still dealing with Agent Orange. It talks about Legion baseball teams that have been around for years and years, and now they have adopted a basketball team sponsored by the American Legion. If you get a chance, happen to sit down and have a soda with Tony Khan or Ray Spider, ask him about what's on a sponsor that's on his car, the American Legion. In this magazine, you can do a lot of things. Buy a walk-in shower, buy a stair lift, buy hearing aids for $99. Free postage. Even on the back page of my Legion magazine, it has usually about 10 one-liner jokes. Sometimes I read it and be okay with it, maybe just smile, but some of them make me laugh once in a while, but they're nice, clean, boring jokes. But that's my Legion magazine, but here's the real fact. 90% of this magazine deals with our veterans. Actively retired and their stories and love for this great country we live in. My reading today touched my heart 5 months ago, and I've not been able to put it out of my mind. As I read it today, I hope it touches yours too. My reading this morning will be pertaining to this young lady on the table right here. And at the end of our ceremony today, if you'd like to stop by and take a look, you'll see a real hero. Every military headstone has a story. In an Instagram photo that captured the hearts the moment she posted it, Marine Sergeant Nicole G, 23, cradled an Afghan baby in her arms. I love my job, she wrote. 6 days later, on August 6, 2021, G and 12 other U.S. service members were killed in a suicide bombing outside Kabul airport during a chaotic withdrawal of American forces. This Veterans Day, we remember them. And more than 1 million men and women who have died in U.S. military service. As we dedicate this moment in their memory, we acknowledge that for our Gold Star families, the mourning is not limited to 24 hours a year. We benefit from all American sacrifices every time we exercise our constitutional rights. We are able to speak freely, possess a firearm, peaceably assemble and vote. Public officials don't secure us these rights. Rather, they have been paid for in blood by those who willingly risk their lives to protect ours, from the founding of our nation to today. As the saying goes, all gave some gave all. They are not numbers, but names and faces. One whose story has recently been told is Army Sergeant First Class Alvin Cash, who posthumously received the Medal of Honor last December. On October the 17th, 2005, his Bradley fighting vehicle struck an improvised explosive device while on patrol near Samarra, Iraq. His uniform, drenched in fuel and on fire, Cash pulled 6 soldiers and an interpreter from the wreck, suffering burns to 3/4 of his body. When 2 helicopters arrived to evacuate the wounded, he insisted on walking off the battlefield himself. During the medevac flight to Balad Air Base, Cash repeatedly asked after his men, "How are my guys? What's going on with them? Where are they at?" 3 weeks later, on November the 8th, he died from his injuries. From the world wars to Korea, from Vietnam to the Middle East, every U.S. military headstone is a story, and everyone is inspirational in its own way. Together, they bear witness to the selflessness described in John 15:13. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for his friends. Thank you, God bless.
And for those that are interested in the $99 hearing aid, see Bob after the ceremony. They'll be outside, take the application for that time, come on and take it up. He always tells me that I didn't speak because you guys want to, but he's so powerful. We have a special presentation today, one that's especially special to our community members. To be part of an organization in the military, we all have a brotherhood and sisterhood. And there's one particular person that we have here today that actually has been in the American Legion 60 years. So we're gonna acknowledge this individual at this time. So if we could ask Mr. Ron Manning to come up here at this time. Continuous membership, issued in grateful appreciation of faithful and dedicated allegiances in the ideals of the American Legion. Be it known that Ronald D. Manning, a longtime and dedicated member of the American Legion Post 288 Department of Indiana, has been certified to have been a member in good standing continuously for 60 cited as an outstanding contributor to the programs of the American Legion. In witness thereof, this testimonial of personal gratitude is given under the hand of the national commander and duly attested by the national advocate. So we'd like to congratulate Mr. Ron Manning on his 60 years of service. I asked him if he wanted to say anything, he said no. And actually, he was asking about the hearing aids, so. He said thank you. Now, for those that are following along in the program, we always say that when we get here, it's nice and black and tightened out, but you'll see a lot of blue marks on mine because we throw some things in. Before we move on to the next portion, at this time, I'd actually like to acknowledge our newly reformed American Legion Auxiliary. If we could have those ladies stand at this time. Who really spearheaded this to get these ladies involved in our American Legion Auxiliary. For those that don't know, we couldn't do what we do without them. To be a member, you must be grandmothers, mothers, sisters, spouses, and direct or adopted female descendants of all men when they served in our armed forces of the United States. Their mission, the first few statements of their mission, is to support and advocate for our veterans, active military, and their families. Once again, to support, advocate for our veterans, active military, and their families. And the second, which none of us, really all of our American Legion members know the most, to support initiatives and programs of the American Legion. So once again, we could not do what we do without them, and they've jumped in full force. So if we could give them a round of applause, I'd appreciate it. With that said, I have to plug now, since they made the Sons of the American Legion we're now in the process of initiating our Sons of American Legion again. So for those that might be interested in joining the Sons, we've been in contact and we're going to get our charter back for our American Legion Post 288. So I know he says that he doesn't like to speak, but at this time we actually have some special sponsorship appreciation awards. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Ritchie once again.
It seems as if when we need something, all we have to do is ask our community and they pull together to provide what we need, no questions asked. Today, we just decided that we would have two individuals here. We'd like to have more, but we have two representatives. Our tank in Petersburg is painted, looks great. And when we went to the Hillsboro Hardware to purchase the paint, which was quite costly, but we had money, but they didn't want it. They wanted to be part of the community. They wanted to help, and they did. Seems like anything we need, the Hillsboro Hardware is available for us. So with that being said, and our appreciation going out to them, would Mrs. Lori Brady please come up and receive a plaque for our appreciation? And we give those nice hands. Our next recipient lives right across the street over here. And we know where to get a hold of him when we need him, and he's usually, well, not usually, always there to help us. Mr. Eric Freeman has been a godsend to us when it comes to setting up for Memorial Day ceremonies. For Patrick Centennial, I believe he was there already, setting up for us. And he never asks for anything in return. And he spends a lot of hours setting up our music for us. I probably should be recognizing him because I don't know how much work he does do, but I do know he's always available. And he asks for nothing. So, Eric, would you come up, please?
He said he doesn't need to speak, so told me that's good, he's finished. So this time, we're gonna go ahead and turn this over to the high school band, who's gonna be playing our Armed Forces Parade. When your branch is played, we ask the veterans to stand for that branch, and we'll announce it. You can go ahead and stand up for that. He was a Marine, so I didn't announce the Marine that he stood up. You're able to get done with the parking lot afterwards, so. I see your shirt right there. If you hang around, I get out there and appreciate that. At this time, it's going to be my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker. Typically, I have this long bio that I get to read a little bit about and tell you who it is, but what I was told was everybody knows Homer. So at this time, we're just going to announce, we'd like to announce our guest speaker today, Dr. Homer Fawcett, DES.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, student body, and faculty. I'm pretty pleased to be here today to address you, but I'm also a bit apprehensive. Because the last time that I addressed an audience this large with this composition was more than 50 years ago in this very place at my own graduation. I'd also like to say there's a guy over here, Ron Manning, who is the only teacher that I have seen here today who was there when I graduated. And besides being a veteran, he's a veteran of the high school. I Sometimes things were quite boring as far as who addressed the student body. So I'm going to try and make things short and to the point today, and bring up a few historical facts that you may not know. A little bit about me, not going to be much. I grew up in this area on the east side of Fountain County and lived here almost my whole life. During the time when I was attending college, I was out of the county, but later on I came back and set up dental practice in Petersburg here and practiced there for 40 years. Some of you might even know me. My father was a veteran of both World War II and the Korean War, and was a heavy bomber pilot during those two wars. Then he was a test pilot for the development of the B-47 bomber. Because of his association with many of the other veterans in this area, I feel like I can talk about the sacrifice and problems that veterans have faced in their lives. I myself have been fortunate enough not to have been called to service during either the Vietnam War or any succeeding wars. But I admire and appreciate those who answered the call to serve their country during those times of need. First of all, I'd like to make a distinguishing statement about the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day. 3 years after the Civil War ended, on May the 5th, 1868, the Heaven Organization of Union Veterans, that was called the Grand Army of the Republic, established Decoration Day as a time for the nation to decorate the graves of those who had died in the war. The first large observance was held that year in Arlington National Cemetery across the Potomac River from Washington, D.C. Various Washington officials, including General and Mrs. Ulysses S. Grant, presided over the ceremonies. After speeches, children from the Soldiers and Sailors Orphan Home and members of the Grand Army of the Republic walked throughout the cemetery and decorated the graves of those who had passed away in the Civil War. Prior to this ceremony at Arlington Cemetery, there had been several places in both the North and the South that had memorial services honoring the dead who had died in the war. Approximately 25 places have been mentioned with the origin of Memorial Day. Many of them in the South, where almost all of the war dead were buried. But in 1966, 100 years later, the Congress and President Lyndon Johnson declared Waterloo, New York, the birthplace of Memorial Day. There had been a ceremony there on May the 5th, 1866, for its local veterans who fought in the Civil War. However, it was not until after World War I that the day was expanded to honor those who died in all American wars. In 1971, Memorial Day was finally declared a national holiday by an act of Congress, but it's still often called Decoration Day. It was then also placed on the last Monday in May, as were some other federal holidays. But Veterans Day had its origins at the beginning of the First World War. The treaty ending that World War was signed on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918. That is November 11th, 1918. It became a national holiday known as Armistice Day, commemorating the services of veterans of all wars fought by the United States. The first celebration using the term Veterans Day occurred in Birmingham, Alabama in 1947. Later, in 1954, by the way, that's the year I was born, Congress passed a bill that changed Armistice Day to Veterans Day and proclaimed November 11th as that day. However, in the wisdom of our great leaders in Washington, they changed Veterans Day to the fourth Monday in October. Later, in 1978, it was changed back to November 11th because people wanted to celebrate the end of the First World War and make it the same as Veterans Day. Veterans Day may not mean a great deal to many of you in this audience unless you have relatives or friends who have participated in armed conflicts on behalf of the United States. However, I'd to point out to you a few of the following facts. Some of these that Mr. Ritchie has already talked about. Veterans representing the North made it possible for blacks and other slaves in the South to be free. Veterans of the Revolutionary War made it possible for us to enjoy a Bill of Rights today, which includes freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and freedom to congregate, and freedom from unnecessary searches and seizures, as well as several other rights that are actually enumerated in those rights. I might point out to you that veterans, not journalists, not political commentators, have guaranteed freedom of the press. Some former soldiers have made a political career, but politicians in general have not increased or kept our freedom. It's the soldiers who've done it. Whether we realize it or not, we owe a great debt to those who have come before us and who have been willing to serve our country and protect our values and freedoms. We should acknowledge that all through the year and not just on this special day. Those who have died in service to our country have paid the ultimate price, and we cannot honor them that they can see. However, the vast majority of those men who have participated in wars have returned home and assumed relatively normal lives, but they've endured many physical and psychological consequences from their wartime service. We owe them a great debt of gratitude and respect for their sacrifice. For most of the 20th century, the United States has been an adversary to communist countries. These countries have included North Korea, China, the Union of Soviet Socialistic Republics, and North Vietnam. These countries, through their leaders and their leaders' policies, have caused the death of literally tens of millions of their own citizens and untold suffering for more tens of millions of their own citizens. It seems to be quite fashionable among many members of our society to say that they favor socialism. It's also fashionable to call other political opponents fascists. I'm going to point out that Adolf Hitler, who is often called a fascist today, was actually head of the Nazi Party. Nazi actually stands for the National Socialist Party of Germany. That's a historical fact and it cannot be disputed. According to Vladimir Lenin, the first Communist Party leader of Russia, the goal of socialism is communism. According to History.com, Marxists often refer to socialism as the first step from capitalism to communism. Marx and Engels, the two co-founders of the concept of communism, did not clearly differentiate communism from socialism, and that's why we have a lot of confusion about the two things. Perhaps a better form that we should look at now, and one that is probably more encompassing, is statism, and that is the national government becoming so powerful that it controls business and society completely from a group of leaders at the top. These leaders basically have unbounded power and do not usually have the best interests of the individuals or their country at heart. Concentration of power in a government that is too powerful leads to corruption and mismanagement. People have migrated to America from the very beginning until now in order to try and escape from corrupt and despotic leaders or from countries that have been ruined by the leadership that they had. They have sought to find a place where individual rights are respected and encouraged. They have sought personal, religious, and economic freedom. Keep in mind when you listen to your political leaders that what they say is not nearly as important as what they do. When evaluating someone for public office, and I say this because of the fact that we've just had an election recently, I don't care who you vote for, it doesn't make any difference to me. But keep in mind when you evaluate them for public office, don't just listen to what they say, but investigate what they have done in the past in order to make a wise choice as your representative. Although it's still a couple of years away from many of you participating in your first election, keep these principles in mind when evaluating the people that you will vote. Don't go by what they say, but go by what they have done. And the old saying goes, actions speak louder than words. I'd like to thank you for listening to me today. I know it's been a long time, but I tried to make it short. I don't have any of the computer skills that many of you guys have, even fourth grader. But I have over 60 years of experience living this life. And these men over here have that same experience and wartime experience. Talk to them, learn from them. Do not make the same mistakes that we have made in the past by not looking into the past. Those who forget history, and I'm reminded of this by thinking about another teacher that I had back long ago, 50 years ago, Mr. Hart. He was a World War II tank driver, and he always said, Mr. Hart said. Most of you guys are too young to remember that anyway, but it was refreshing to get a perspective from a World War II veteran who's been there and done that. Anyway, learn from our mistakes of the past so that we don't commit them in the future. Thanks for listening to me, and thank you, veterans.
I don't know if I should admit that that's a blast from the past when you hear Mr. Hart's name. I see Harry shaking his head too when you hear his name. At this time, we're going to ask everyone to please rise. And we're going to actually have a moment of silence for those veterans that are unable to be with us today, such as Sergeant Lee. Thank you. For those that are able to remain standing, please do so as we have our flag holding ceremony, which will be conducted by our commander, Mr. Bob Reggie, and our first vice commander, Mr. Clay Smith. We're at this time representing the Boy Scouts of America will be Mr. Mark Copeland, coming up and reading the 13 polls.
Folding the American flag into a triangle gives unique honor and respect to the flag. Have you ever wondered what each of the 13 folds represents? The first fold of our flag is a symbol of life. The second fold is for our belief in eternal life. The third fold is made in honor and remembrance of the veteran departing our ranks, who gave a portion of his or her life for the defense of our country to attain peace throughout the world. The fourth fold stands for our weaker nature. As American citizens trusting in God, it's to Him we turn to in times of peace as well as war for His divine guidance. The fifth fold is a tribute to America. In the words of Stephen Pater, our country, in dealing with other countries, may she always be right, but it's still our country, right or wrong. The sixth fold is where our heart lies. It is with our heart that we pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The seventh fold is a tribute to our armed forces. For it is the armed forces that protect our country and flag against enemies. whether they be found within or without the boundaries of our republic. The eighth fold is a tribute to the one who entered in the valley of the shadow of death, that we might see the light of day, and honor our mother, for whom it flies on Mother's Day. The ninth fold is a tribute to womanhood, for it is through their faith, love, loyalty, and devotion that the character of the men and women who have made this country great have been molded. The tenth fold is a tribute to Father, for he has given his sons and daughters for the defense of our country, since he or she was first born. The 11th fold in the eyes of Hebrew citizens represents the lower portion of the seal of King David and King Solomon, and glorifies in their eyes the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The 12th fold in the eyes of a Christian citizen represents an emblem of eternity and glorifies in their eyes God the Father, the Son, and Holy Spirit. The 13th fold, when the flag is completely folded, the stars are uppermost, reminding us of our nation's motto, "In God we trust." After the flag is completely folded and tucked in, it takes on the appearance of a cocked hat, ever reminding us of the soldiers who served under General George Washington and the sailors and Marines who served under Captain John Paul Jones, who were followed by their comrades and shipmates in the armed forces of the United States, preserving for us the rights, privileges, and freedoms we enjoy today.
Honor guard, present, hold. Order, hold. At this time, Mr. Chase Woodman, reading, honoring those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. We'll ask everyone to please remain standing through the end of taps.
Salute and military etiquette is the act of expressing respect. During the Civil War, at some of the battlefields become cluttered with dead and wounded. Both sides would cease fire by agreement and clear the battlefield to care for the dead and wounded. Then each side would fire 3 rifle shots into the air to signal that they had cared for their dead and wounded and are ready to return to battle. They then would resume fighting as if it had never stopped. This is the reason for the 3 rifle volleys fired from the casket of the citizen. It is to signify that he or she has been cared for and has evolved into a salute to honor the deceased for their service. Firing 3 rifle volleys over the casket is one of the highest honors for a deceased military veteran. We, from the Charles Forrest American Legion, Post 288, Petersburg, Indiana, would like now to bestow this honor in remembrance of all our fallen comrades. And I ask everyone to please rise in a moment of silence for the solemn dedication. Thank you.
You may be seated at this time. Once again, it's been an honor for me to be part of this ceremony. I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Dave Knight for dismissal.
And on behalf of the Southeast Public School Corporation, we thank you all for attending this morning. Students, we'll be dismissing in this fashion. Sixth grade students who are seated over here, you will be exiting first out those doors to your third period class. At the same time, you're gonna have, start down on that end, exit out those doors to your third period class, and elementary students, you can exit following the sixth grade. Community members, thank you for attending, especially thank all our veterans for being here today. Before we leave, I would like to recognize Mr. Clint Burney, right over here to my right. Mr. Burney, he works. We have